housing societies or institutional side have not picked up despite policy guideline. I'm not sure whether this particular place, the India Expo Mart, is a EV charging station or not. So if you come, the whole day you are here, you could have charged your vehicle. I'm not sure whether they have something like that or not. This one, and in most of the institutions it is like that. Forget about the housing societies. The ecosystem for maintenance is yet to pick up, and support is not providing to create the ecosystem for the maintenance. Support is being provided to purchase the electric vehicle. There are subsidies and other things, but the associated things are not being supported, which is extremely critical for success or revolution of the EV system to occur. This one. So there is something, lot of things needs to be done, both by the industry and the government. And of course, there is a knowledge gap. So as a research institute, from a research institute, we are trying to address the knowledge gap by creating a dedicated TERI digital library on grid mobility with support from GIZ. We have set up every information, everything is available on a digital platform, and everybody can visit that site and collect, and whatever information is required. Publicly available informations are all being collected and this one put into the same place. Now, our assessment of the energy transition, despite the challenges and despite the electric vehicle penetration stock continues to be low, we are expecting that it is almost all new vehicles, more than 80% in urban areas in 2030 will be electric. Or if the hydrogen technology develops, it will be based on hydrogen and fuel cells. However, we are not clear about the speed of EV transition in rural areas, and in rural areas there are other challenges. Of course, there are electric three-wheelers and two-wheelers probably would have find better market in the rural areas than the four-wheelers. But then there are other challenges of rural electricity supply reliability, network capacity. Whatever network has been laid down in the rural areas under the rural electrification program probably do not have adequate capacity to take additional load of electric vehicle charging. And we are also talking about, under the Go Electric campaign, electric cooking. So the government has launched that Go Electric thing, but in the rural areas probably it will have of no use because the network augmentation is not happening. The speed at which it should happen, and it has just been done, so I don't think it will start to happen in the next 1 or 2 years, because at least whatever money has been spent, it will take time to recover and then again spend more money. EV plus renewables is the future for sustainability. That's something that we strongly believe, and more so because when renewable continue to be the overwhelming source of electricity, and farm cost-effective renewable energy would be viable by 2030. And with a merit order dispatch and non-merit order discharge, better policy on that, I think the EV revolution will pick up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Very quickly, just to keep the momentum of the discussion going, I will request Mr. Dheeman Kadam, co-founder goEgonetwork, to have his thoughts.
Thank you, Himani. I would have a very critical view on this, and I would like the audience also to get involved here. So my question to you all, how many of you all have EVs or came to this place in an EV? 1,
2,
3. So the biggest problem is us who are here, who are probably in the industry, promoting the industry, researching the industry. It's us who are not moving, and that basically needs to be challenged. Today, I was talking to Himani before, and what is her problem of not switching to electric? Let's remove those barriers. Those barriers are what we need to identify as individuals, whether you want to purchase an electric car, an electric bike. See, with our background, wherein my founders were based in the Netherlands, both of them were driving an electric car, and they knew all the benefits of it. When they came down recently in 2021, all three of us booked electric vehicles. Luckily, MG could deliver one electric vehicle by November. The other two founders are still without an electric vehicle. So delivery times of electric vehicle is one major reason wherein people who see the benefits are getting delayed, are probably seeing it maybe 6-8 months later, that today I go ahead and decide to buy, and then the delivery comes after 8 months. Probably the OEMs will help somewhere there. So that is one part of it. The second part of it is the ease of buying an electric. What I mean by that is when you go, the experience has to be similar or better. Here it is way bad. What happens is when you decide to buy a ICE, you go to the showroom, you pay a deposit, upfront cost, you sanction your loan, you get the vehicle delivered, you go out, fill petrol, and you're using it. Now this, in the electric scenario, is way, way bad, wherein first, there is no standardization, so you don't know what I should go for, whether I should go for a range, whether I should go for low speed, high speed. Chalo, we are all smart, brainy people. We can decide for ourselves, so we decide on a vehicle. Then there is the big fight of what do I do about my residential charging? I stay on the 9th floor. I can't put a wire down from there. So that is out of the question. Then what is it that I can do? I go to the residential welfare fund, or the societies as we call it in our Pune. The society has 10 different things. Wiring is not consistent. Why should I give you permission? This is not a part of any, means it is not in the common good that you are going to be installing a single charger. So that fight is there. Then there is the Discom who comes in and says that, okay, if you need a green meter, there are these many things which you have to go ahead and purchase and do. And with all this, then you finally have an electric vehicle which will be delayed by 6 months. So this is not at all benefiting anyone who is trying to also buy an electric. So what sir mentioned, that the policy gap needs to be either addressed or given to the Discoms, because end of the day, electric vehicles are electric. So the electricity providers should just go in and make sure that everyone can consume more electricity, which is beneficial for their business itself. So they can provide the green meter, they can do the society installations, everything. The next barrier is what where we are as a company, wherein it's the charging infrastructure play, wherein no one wants to invest in a high-end charger, or if you're buying a 1 lakh vehicle, why would you buy a 30,000 charger just to charge it? All these things are where the range anxiety comes up, which, as sir said, is the number one reason why people don't switch to electric. Now, with 2,500, I'm hoping with our kind of production and all collaborative issuances and the government push, we could make it to 25,000 by 2022. That itself should give this industry a big enough push, wherein people who want to switch to electric are no longer thinking that it's only a short ride vehicle. See, for us to prove that it's not about me telling you and that I have a good product and we can make charging infrastructure a reality, we went ahead and put it on the Leh Valley, wherein the Spiti Valley has our chargers. So from Manali to Spiti, we see almost every 10 days at least one charging session which happens, which is a very beautiful thing for us, that it is at the world's highest point that there is a charger, and it is possible for electric vehicles to actually reach there and make you come back. So that itself, such answers will make practical solutions, wherein then for you it is easy to switch to electric. So you have to understand that being in this industry, you are the ones who are going to drive it forward. So you have to take that leap of faith. In fact, in the morning, Sinha sir also said that if you are not taking that leap of faith, you're waiting on the sidelines, means you're supporting the ICE. And that is where the biggest problem is, because daily you're going to be commuting on an IC engine, you are going to be clocking those kilometers, that COP26 target, that 2070 net zero. All this is a farce unless and until you yourself are committing to this change or this radical movement which is supposed to happen. Obviously, OEMs are invested in this, and this has to be a push from the OEM side as well. But as the researchers also say that their basic job is to challenge these assumptions. And I guess that challenging these basic assumptions that, okay, TCO, yes, very good point. Your pollution and your COP26 is a very good point. But is that really moving y'all to go ahead and buy an electric? It's not. It's not moving y'all. So the barriers to entry should be taken out one by one. I have taken up as a company, one barrier to entry which I'll be taking out is the charging infrastructure, and with the collaboration of all the other charging infrastructure companies who have taken the leap of faith, which sir said that financing a charging infrastructure is today one of the most difficult things, wherein it is an asset, it is going to create recurring revenue and multiple revenue streams, but it is still not an asset class in the banking side or the finance side. So it is something which is very, very unfortunate for us, but yeah, we cannot just sit on the sidelines and say that, okay, things will change. It is up to us, for us to take that decision, go to that electric vehicle dealership, go to that electric vehicle stall, ask them and buy it. Make sure that you are switching to electric and committing to this goal so that this can be taken ahead as a movement wherein you will be the early adopters who will then basically make that hockey stick curve work in the favor of this entire industry. And then the researchers can say that, hey, we are almost on line to reach our COP26 and net zero target. Otherwise, we are all just, yeah, gonna be talking and not doing. So being actionable is very important here. Thanks.
Thank you, Dheeman. And I see a mix of industry and users here. We are both here. We will be happy to hear people's thought on that. But before that, I invite Akshat to make his presentation. Yeah, sure.
Hello everyone, my fellow speakers and ladies and gentlemen in this hall, a very, very good afternoon. A very interesting topic, low adoption of EVs, a topic or an issue or a challenge, whatever you may want to call it, it is the truth. What makes it even more interesting is the fact that it's not just related to one particular nation. If we talk about it at a global level, there are a majority of the countries who are actually going through the same journey with the adoption of EVs. So anyways, sorry, is this working? Or? Anyway, sorry, this is one slide where I had an image of, yeah, it's not, that's fine, we can leave it. Sorry about that. So it's basically, there was this one slide that you know, all the pretty words that explains EVs very well, be it the battery, as you can see, the charging stations, the small, the slow, cost-effective. Basically, all the words that come to anyone's mind when we talk about the EVs. So what I wanted to show here was the biggest word, expensive. It is the truth that EVs are expensive. I know we all talk about the cost savings throughout the journey and you know how you save money by not having to fill up the petrol but instead of charging it. But regardless, the EVs are still expensive, which is the one of the key barriers, so to say. Look, from an OEM point of view, yes, like any other business model, they will be expensive. simply because of the supply and demand. The lower the demand is, of course, the cost per unit would be high, so we cannot deny that the EVs are actually expensive in the first place. The other issue that we have with the EVs is the battery and charging technology, which is another truth that we cannot deny. We have the chargers today, we have the batteries today, the range that you can get out of a particular car and the charging time that the car takes, it is actually not that convenient. It is the truth. You actually have to well plan your journey, and you cannot just blindly get on into your EV car or a scooter or whatever it may be and go for a drive of 500 kilometers. So you have to basically plan all those things if you are actually in an EV, so you cannot deny that. The other one is basically self-explanatory. Where do I charge my EV? The question that comes to the mind, it's not a phone that we all buy these days and we know, okay, we'll find a charging cable anywhere and we'll be able to charge it easily. With the EV, the infrastructure is actually one of the biggest barriers. You're investing 20-25 lakh rupees in an EV and you have no guarantee how confidently you can use that product of yours. So no matter how good it is, how good it performs, how good the range is, if there is no infrastructure, there'll always be a barrier. I can guarantee you, even if you double the range of the EVs today that we have in the market, there will still be an issue because they can never have unlimited range. So yes, infrastructure issue, definitely a big one. To summarize all the barriers that we have with the EVs, the first one is also the perceptions that we have all in our mind. There's a lack of awareness, I must say, a big lack of awareness. There's not enough knowledge in the people. There's not enough awareness. I really appreciate this kind of event that has been put together for people to come in and have a look at the EVs, the bikes and the batteries so they can get more knowledge. But otherwise, if I was to go and talk to the people anywhere at a public place today, I can guarantee you maybe 9 out of 10 people would not have enough idea about the EVs. So that is actually something that needs to be ramped up. The other one, technological, as I just said, the driving range is an issue, 200, 250 kilometers. In reality, the average commute of a person, Delhi is about 35 to 40 kilometers. Which is much less than what you can get from an EV. The EVs normally they start from about 200, 250 kilometer range, but still people have that perception, what if I run out of battery? Okay, the charging time, it takes time to charge. It is not as simple as rocking up to a fuel station and then just filling it within a couple of minutes and then off you go for another 500 kilometers. The charging time is another barrier, only if you have the chargers. Performance, a lot of people think EVs are actually boring to drive. They are not as fun, which is actually not the reality. It's the opposite. The EVs are the most fun cars to drive. If you look at the cars, the high performance cars that are coming out today, if you look at the acceleration figures 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, they are actually much faster than a lot of sports cars with the ICE engines, V8, V10s, right? The models, that is also another reality. I know we do have certain EVs in the market, but they are still very limited. They're not in all the body styles, the hatches, the sedans, and the SUVs. They are not in all different sizes, medium, large, so there are those limitations as well because we do have a limited number of products in the market yet. Economical is also another barrier. As I said, purchase price. The EVs are expensive to buy in the first place. There is no doubt about it. The other big factor is the residuals. If you are investing 20-25 lakh rupees in an EV today, the biggest question you would like to think is, how much would my car be within the next 5 years? What would it be worth? People don't know, right? So that's also something that I'm sure someone who would want to spend that sort of money would like to think and be confident about so he can invest that money. Infrastructure, again, we cannot deny it. It's something that we all know. It is definitely a big, big barrier. I know I personally will not buy it. Even if I was to buy an EV today, it will not be my first and only car. I would be happy to have an electric car as my second car that I can use when I know when I will be within the 50 to 100 kilometer range. But the truth is, if I was to have an EV today, I cannot have it as my only car that I can rely on 24/7. That is the reality. Regardless of the barriers, there is still a lot happening around the globe with the EVs. So just to show you this image, it will be the first time in this year in 2021 that the EV share of the total vehicle market share will reach double digit, the 10% globally. That is a big achievement, I must say. 10% is actually not that bad. It just shows that how quickly things are changing globally. The biggest red bar, as you can see, represents China in terms of volume, which is very obvious because of the size of the market. So that's basically the biggest market, I think, probably in the world, but that's China. But if interestingly, if you look at the percentage here, the picture is different. The Norway is basically the country that is leading the charge globally. Not volume-wise, but percentage-wise. So last year in 2020 itself, the number of EVs sold in Norway was about 78 to 79%, and this year in 2021, that number has gone to 90%. 90% of the cars sold in Norway are EVs. Why? It's the same product. I would not like to name a particular EV here. It's the same product that you can get in India and you can get the same product in Norway. Why are they selling thousands of units there and why only a few hundreds here? It's a big question to ask. And they have the same range, the technology is same. So the biggest reason, as you can see, is the best government policies. The cheapest cars today that you can buy in Norway are the EVs, the cheapest car. And that's basically the first win for that market. The government is extremely serious about promoting EVs. The incentives, the rebates, and a whole lot of other the factors, the package that the buyer gets with the EV is something that almost becomes a no-brainer for the buyer. If I was to go and buy a car in Norway, I would be more confident in buying an EV. It's just the most appealing product. The other is the best charging infrastructure. They have more charging stations than the fuel stations today in Norway. You might run out of fuel, but you might not run out of battery. That's the confidence that people have. That's exactly what needs to be there in all the countries. If you get that, if you get the best government policies, that's what brings the results. Cheap electricity. That's another very good advantage that Norway has because of the higher renewable resources. They are lucky with that. But still, I would say the first 2 points are the key drivers of the EV volumes in Norway. Anyways, but what can change things? We talk about this issue and challenge, but what can change things? First, greater consumer choice. I encourage all the OEMs to come to the party and do not wait. They are expensive, the EVs are expensive, but what can bring them down? I know government incentives, the policies are the one. The second biggest factor is the competition. There is not enough competition in the market yet. Everyone is waiting for one another. The more people come to the party, the manufacturers, the products, there will be more competition and the consumers will be benefited with that. They will want to sell volumes. It will become like no other business with the normal cars. We know how competitive the automotive market is. Every single rupee or dollar matters. So that's what needs to happen with the EVs as well. The fast developing infrastructure, again coming back to the infrastructure, yes, it needs to be ramped up. It's a no-brainer. People will not buy EVs regardless, even if they have 800 kilometer range. Anxiety will still be there if there are no charging stations. There needs to be the standards of the charging stations that needs to be set up by the government and to be rolled out throughout the country so people know that yes, these are the charging stations standard in our country and that's what we need to buy. Last but not the least, development in technology. Today we have the lithium-ion batteries, which are big and obviously they are heavy and they take time to charge. But the way, the direction in which the automotive industry is moving is the solid-state batteries, which needs to be implemented in the electric cars as well. They are much lighter, more economical, and obviously give better results. So from the automotive industry point of view, things are changing very quickly. And just to give you an idea, you can see pretty much almost all the big groups, automotive groups here, how well committed they are with the EVs. So there's a lot of work happening in the automotive industry, but again, this is a game with a few different players. All the players need to play their role to make this happen, and so that our future generations can live a better life. Thank you.
Thank you, Akshat. Thank you so much. Just jumping right into the question, and the first one from me, please. You spoke about the choice that the consumer needs to get, and also there is a bit of discussion that I heard was also previously around the supply chain issues and the indigenization of the manufacturing. Right? So just a quick question, you have a manufacturing setup near Pune in Chakan, and were there any supply chain issues, and are there any plans to indigenize the manufacturing? And the second one, I know there is a mid-segment Polo or something like that, a car which is planned to be introduced next year. Are there any electric small car or mid-segment car that is planned to be introduced by Volkswagen or Skoda?
I think my mic is not.
Is the mic working? Can you please check?
Mic. Hello. Check. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good question, Himani. Look, again, what I would like to say on this is, yes, as I said, there is a lot of work happening in the automotive industry, and not just one particular group or brand, but all the brands are working on it behind the scenes, right? And I wish I could basically reveal those things, and these things are kept confidential, so to say. But again, as I said, from the automotive or automakers' point of view, they have full commitment into it. But again, like any other business case, as I said, it's the game of a few players. It's not just the game of the OEMs to bring in the cars and just keep launching them. There's a lot of effort and investment that goes into it. So the other things need to move as well. Again, coming back to the charging infrastructure and which will obviously make a big impact on the thing. So I think, again, it's kind of a wait and watch game happening from both the sides. I would say things are lined up, but again, obviously if there is a business and there are enough volumes to justify launching those cars, then yes, that will definitely happen. But again, the other things are something that are lacking significantly, the infrastructure and all of that. So they need to move first so we can launch the right products to basically satisfy the customers. As I said, even if you can double the range of the products, there's still no way people will buy it if there's no infrastructure. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that is planned. I wish I could reveal that. But again, when the right time comes, you will definitely see those excellent products coming to the market.
So just carrying on the conversation, I know it's a mixed panel. We hear both the thoughts here on the same panel, wherein a lot is dependent on the government policy, while at the same time a lot is expected out of the users, us taking the leap of faith and buying an EV. The charging operations, the charging infrastructure and its operation seems not to be a problem. That's what Mr. Dheeman is saying. And that is where there is enough technology and other things are available.
Yeah, so charging infrastructure will obviously lead the way, which I agree with Akshat. Today there are, so we've done Pune, Goa, we've done a lot of rides, like now NHEV is doing Delhi, Jaipur and all that. What is required of OEMs is today we are in 2020. I think the Volkswagen Group had cars way back in 2017 which they had launched. So the car you're talking about is the ID3,
Yeah.
which is the compact car. It looks like the Polo.
True.
So we want more commitment from a Skoda to come out and say that, hey, I'm launching a product in 2022.
Cool.
Go ahead, buy it. That is where I want Akshay to be a part of this EV surge to adoption. I am just a promoter of adoption. End of the day, the word itself is electric vehicle, which is you. And you have to launch. Today, what the difference between a Norway and India is that Norway has at least 100 options of electric vehicles available, and India has 2 and 1 made to order, which is MG ZS EV, Tata Nexon, and Hyundai Kona made to order. So,
Despite
that is-
being the potential of one of the largest
yeah,
market,
means, China is the largest market. If they say, then we have to be the
second largest market. So happy to have questions from the audience, or you can go first. Also introduce in one word, who are you and what is the question? You.
Talking about hybrid electric vehicles over here. Given the fact that the range anxiety kind of gets eliminated with that, the charging time gets eliminated with that, the total cost of ownership, given it gives you more mileage than a traditional ICE vehicle, is also taken care by that. I don't need a charging infrastructure. Why is it that the government has been not as vocal about hybrid vehicles as it has been towards pure electric vehicles?
Is there a viewpoint amongst the panelists?
Can you please repeat the last line, please?
In terms of what I've heard from the government, the policymakers, and the OEMs about investment in hybrid vehicles as opposed to pure electric vehicles, I haven't heard a lot about hybrid vehicles. Why is that? Why is that not being considered as a potential option for a country like India, wherein charging infrastructure, cost of ownership, range anxiety, and charging time are going to be so important? Why are we trying to boil the ocean rather than just go for hybrid electric vehicles in the first place?
Yes, that's a good question. I mean, hybrid electric vehicles, obviously hybrid have both the batteries and the normal ICE engine as well. I understand from a
You would like to
customer
speak
point of view, it definitely makes
hybrid?
sense, and it gives you more confidence that, okay, you can have 40 kilometers of electricity run car, and then the rest you can still go for your long drives and stuff. But from the manufacturer's point of view, again, it's all investment, right? And we know where the future is. The future is fully electric, right? So, and again, as I said, it's basically by the time we would realize it, we would be there. So instead of now, if I talk about hybrids as an option, if we were to think of it 5 years back, then yes, that probably would have been the right time. But now the way things are progressing towards the fully electric cars, I don't see much point in basically investing a whole lot of investment in introducing the hybrid vehicles, because at the end of the day, they will still become obsolete, the ICE engines, right? And as I said, it's again a lot of investment. So instead of putting it in that direction, you would rather do that in the fully electric cars. So that's sort of it's just the way things are going. The whole focus is towards fully electric, and that's basically what achieves goals as well. If you were to reduce the pollution, the emission, and all of that, you cannot do that with the hybrid vehicles, no matter what, because they still have petrol engine which burns petrol or diesel and then produces emissions.
Also at the policy level, there is a clear push on the BEVs and not on the hybrids. Happy to take more questions, please. Can you also say who you are?
Hello. I'm from a company called Gilbarco. We are in the fueling space. Wanted to understand a point made by Dr. Patil about four-wheelers and buses possibly looking at fuel cells and hydrogen fuel cells. So what are the barriers there exactly, or if you're seeing something there because today we are talking about pure electric, but do we foresee a market for hydrogen? If yes, but what is preventing that? Is it the cost? Is it the, what all barriers need to be broken for that adoption as well? Because from a solution standpoint, it's basically electric, except that you have that fuel cell and all of that, right? So I just wanted to.
Thank you for the question. So what I said is that we know for sure that in case of electric mobility, two-wheelers and three-wheelers will lead the charge. This one, there will be more number of two-wheelers and three-wheelers, electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers as we move progress, rather than four-wheeler, because there are a lot of anxiety-related challenges for somebody to adopt four-wheeler, starting with the charging infra and other things. Wherever buses and this one large fleets, this one where there were centralized charging stations, so that will also move. Of course, at a slower pace than the two-wheeler and three-wheeler, but that will also move because for that the transport company or something like that have to take a call, and they can probably set up charging station at their place and this one. Now for long distance trucks and other, the freight, this one. So it appears that with hydrogen picking up in the years to come, now that there is also a national mission for hydrogen, and hopefully in the next few years it will pick up, then there will be a transition directly from the fossil fuel to hydrogen based fuel, because it will be much easier to run those long distance trucks on hydrogen rather than on charging a battery and then running it. I am not saying that it is not going to happen in the electric trucks are not going to happen. It will happen, but along with that, hydrogen will also be an additional option to fall upon. This one. Anyway, it is going to happen after 3, 4, 5 years, and by that time the hydrogen technology will also mature. So you have an option there, then electric or hydrogen, whichever you want to take.
Sure.
This one, when I say electric, hydrogen will also be something related to electric. It is the battery and hydrogen basically.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Please, we will have the question there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Puneet, and we are into manufacturing of power supplies. So my question is, in this changing time, where we are seeing so much substitute for the fossil fuels like majorly EVs, green hydrogen, bioethanol, and the flex engine, and government is promoting all of them. Sir, what do you see that how far India currently is from achieving success in EVs, or the we can say zero emission program the Prime Minister is dreaming or visualizing about?
Question is to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can take a shot at it, sir. It's the multiple policies which we have just been discussing.
Well, okay. Well, so what I feel is that I think policies have to be done at the multiple levels. You cannot have only one solution for everything, and out of that maybe a particular policy will take a lead, and some policies will not take this one. No, the progress will be different for different policies. So I think what the government is doing is that the ethanol program and other things are happening. You also need that, because you cannot just directly shift from one fuel to another. This one, there is a transition period. In the transition period, you have to have ethanol mixed with the fossil fuel. This one, as we move along, hydrogen will also coming, as I said, and the focus should be, one should know, or the government and industry should know where exactly I should focus. Now the two-wheelers, definitely we can directly transition to two-wheelers and three-wheelers for electric. There is no need for ethanol and all those things for two-wheelers and three-wheelers. But for larger fleet, I think maybe ethanol would be one, hydrogen could be another one, electric is another one. Again, ethanol, from what you are producing, ethanol is also important. Are you releasing combustible gas or something like that while producing ethanol? So those are also type of things when needed more discussion. That means ethanol should also be green ethanol. It cannot be from coal-based ethanol, something like that. So,
So
there are a lot of those things that probably have to take a call, and accordingly we have to proceed. What I feel is that I made my presentation is that if the government has a program that I have to reach a particular point, then all ministries should start thinking in that direction. The ministries for a particular program should not think differently. So, and should not compete with each other. They can have different programs where they can think differently, but for one achievement, everybody should start thinking in the same direction so as to reach collectively there and not contradict each other. There are a lot of contradictions happening now. There are a lot of good policies, but those policies are not being implemented on the ground because the awareness level is not there. Say the housing society, in housing societies you have to have charging station. That policy was launched probably 3 or 4 years back. But you won't find a charging station in any housing society by created by the builder, because the municipality probably is not pushing that, and they are the ones who are regulating the housing sector. So the policy at the top doesn't necessarily mean it is being implemented in the way and the letter and spirit. So there is big gap in between. Those gaps needs to be addressed.
Taking a cue from the organizers, we are going to wrap up the session. Just a quick takeaways that I would like to highlight here. Well, we need a very clear policy roadmap, a clear consistent target, if at all by the fleet types or use cases, a consistent message to both industry and user that will help. Some bit of urban local bodies capacity to monitor and implement, that's another bit which is absolutely necessary. And third, as we understood with a mixed message, is the leap of faith that the users need to take towards adoption. Early adopters needs to be there to tip the balance. And of course, last but not the least, there are certain other segments and areas that needs to be filled from an industry perspective for an efficient and a faster EV uptake. Thank you, and that's it from our side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Himani Jain. And with that, we wrap up this session, and it was indeed a very thought-provoking session that not only dwelled upon the challenges faced by the industry and the end users, but also offered a lot of solutions, as we saw Dr. Himani also giving the takeaways at the end of the session. So I'd request Dr. Himani Jain to please felicitate the panel members. I'd request Dr. Himani Jain to first felicitate Dr. Debajit Palit, Director and Senior Fellow, Rural Energy and Livelihoods, TERI. Can we have the mementos, please? I'd request everyone to please give a round of applause to the panel members. Thank you, Dr. Palit, for a very great and engaging discussion. And I now request Dr. Himani Jain to also felicitate Mr. Dheeman Kadam, co-founder, goEgonetwork. Thank you so much, Dr. Kadam. It was indeed a pleasure listening to you today. I'd request Dr. Himani also now to felicitate Mr. Akshat Ahuja, Product Manager, Skoda, Australia. Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a pleasure having you this afternoon in this session. And thank you so much, Dr. Himani Jain, for indeed chairing the session so beautifully and keeping us engaged throughout. It was indeed a pleasure, ma'am.